Spring had arrived in Jerusalem. The air was sweet with the scent of jasmine and honeysuckle. Birds sang in the cedar trees that lined the city walls. But King David was not with his army. He was in Jerusalem. The other kings went to war, but David stayed behind.
From his palace rooftop, David could see the whole city. He could see the smoke from 1,000 cooking fires. He could see children playing in the streets, and he could see a woman bathing on a nearby rooftop.
The woman was beautiful. Her presence was captivating, almost ethereal, as if she were a vision from another world. The way she moved, the grace in her every gesture was mesmerizing. Her skin was like polished ivory, smooth and flawless, catching the light in a way that made it seem to glow from within. It was as if the very essence of beauty had been captured in her form. Her hair like a raven's wing, dark and lustrous, cascading down her back in waves that shimmered with every movement. It framed her face perfectly, adding to her allure. David had never seen anyone so lovely. He was struck by her beauty, unable to look away. It was as if time had stopped, and in that moment, nothing else existed but her. He couldn't take his eyes off her. Who was she? He had to know. The curiosity gnawed at him, and he felt an overwhelming need to learn more about this enchanting woman.
David sent a servant to inquire about the woman. The servant, loyal and obedient, hurried to fulfill the king's request, knowing the importance of the task at hand. He learned that her name was Bathsheba. The name resonated with David, adding a sense of mystery and allure to the woman he had seen. She was the wife of Uriah, one of David's most loyal soldiers. This revelation brought a mix of emotions to David's heart. He felt a pang of guilt, knowing that she was already bound to another man. Uriah was away at war, fighting for the king. The knowledge that her husband was a brave and loyal soldier only deepened David's internal conflict.
David was consumed by desire. The intensity of his feelings was overwhelming, and he found himself constantly thinking about Bathsheba. Her image was etched into his mind, haunting him day and night. He knew that Bathsheba was a married woman. The moral implications of his desire weighed heavily on him, but the pull he felt towards her was undeniable. He knew it was wrong. The conflict within him grew stronger with each passing day. He was torn between his duty as a king and his personal desires. But he couldn't help himself. The struggle between right and wrong, duty and desire, raged within him. He was a king, yet he felt powerless against the emotions that had taken hold of him. The story of David and Bathsheba was just beginning, and the choices he would make in the days to come would shape the course of their lives forever. David sent for Bathsheba. She came to the palace not knowing why the king had summoned her.
David, consumed by lust, seduced Bathsheba. Afterward, she returned home, her heart filled with fear and confusion.
Weeks turned into months. Spring gave way to summer, and then Bathsheba discovered she was pregnant. She sent word to David, her heart heavy with the knowledge of their sin.
David was a man of action. He would fix this. He would hide his sin. He would protect his reputation.
David devised a plan. He called Uriah back from the war. He welcomed Uriah as a hero, praising his bravery.
Then David subtly suggested Uriah return home and spend time with his wife.
Uriah, ever the loyal soldier, refused. He told David that his men were sleeping in tents. He would not enjoy the comforts of home while his brothers-in-arms were at war.
David's plan was crumbling. He needed another way to cover up his sin. David tried again. He invited Uriah to a feast. He plied Uriah with food and wine, hoping to get him drunk, but Uriah remained steadfast. He would not betray his comrades on the battlefield.
I must do something. This isn't working.
David was desperate. He wrote a letter to his general Joab. The letter contained a chilling order.
Put Uriah in the front line where the fighting is fiercest, then withdraw from him so he will be struck down and die.
David sealed the letter and gave it to Uriah himself.
Uriah, deliver this message to Joab.
Uriah, unaware that he carried his own death warrant, obeyed the king's command. Uriah returned to the battlefield. Just as David had ordered, Joab placed Uriah at the front of the battle.
Withdraw the soldiers. Leave Uriah to fight alone.
Then Joab withdrew his soldiers. Uriah, surrounded by enemies, fought bravely but was killed. David received word of the victory. He feigned sorrow at the news of Uriah's death.
Such a loss, we shall mourn him.
He comforted himself with the thought that his sin was now hidden. Bathsheba mourned for Uriah. Her grief was deep and true.
My heart is broken. How can I go on?
But when the time of mourning was over, David took her as his wife. Bathsheba became a prisoner of the king's deception. David believed he had escaped the consequences of his actions. He had been wrong. The Lord saw everything. He knew the darkness that had taken root in David's heart. God sent the prophet Nathan to confront David. Nathan told David a story of a rich man who stole a poor man's lamb.
This is outrageous. That man deserves justice.
Then Nathan spoke the words that chilled David to the bone.
You are that man.
David was devastated. He had sinned against Bathsheba, he had sinned against Uriah, and he had sinned against God. He confessed his sin and begged for forgiveness. Nathan told David that the Lord had forgiven him, but his sin would have consequences. The child born to David and Bathsheba became ill. For 7 days David prayed and fasted, desperate to save the child's life, but the child died. David's heart was broken. He had learned a bitter lesson about the cost of sin.
Oh, my heart, my child, the cost of my actions.
David wrote a psalm of repentance, pouring out his sorrow and his need for God's mercy. He acknowledged his sin. He accepted the consequences. In his heartfelt plea, he expressed deep remorse for his actions, recognizing the gravity of his mistakes. His words were not just a cry for help, but a profound admission of guilt and a sincere desire to change. David's psalm became a timeless testament to the power of true repentance, and he found forgiveness and restoration in the Lord. This forgiveness was not just a simple pardon, but a complete renewal of his spirit. David's journey from guilt to grace illustrates the transformative power of divine mercy. It shows that no matter how far we have fallen, there is always a path back to righteousness. The light that shone through the clouds symbolized the hope and relief that comes with being forgiven. David's story is a reminder that sin has consequences, even for kings. His position of power did not exempt him from the moral laws that govern all of humanity. The distress he felt was a direct result of his actions, serving as a powerful lesson that no one is above the law. His troubled state in the throne room depicted the inner turmoil that comes with the realization of one's wrongdoings, but it is also a story of God's grace. This grace is not earned but given freely to those who seek it with a humble heart. The imagery of a hand reaching down from the sky and light breaking through the clouds represents the divine intervention that lifts us from our darkest moments. It is a reminder that grace is always within reach, no matter how dire our circumstances may seem. Even when we stray, God is always ready to forgive us when we turn to Him with a truly repentant heart. This readiness to forgive is a cornerstone of faith, offering a constant source of hope and renewal. The act of turning back to God, of seeking His mercy, is a powerful testament to the enduring nature of divine love. The light shining on the penitent figure symbolizes the acceptance and peace that comes with genuine repentance.
Have mercy on me, O God, according to your unfailing love. This plea is a universal cry for compassion, a recognition of our human frailty and the need for divine intervention. It echoes through the ages, reminding us that we are never alone in our struggles. According to your great compassion, blot out my transgressions. This request for forgiveness is a profound acknowledgement of God's boundless compassion. It is a plea for a fresh start, a clean slate, and a renewed spirit. The ancient script on the parchment serves as a testament to the enduring power of these words, a reminder that the quest for forgiveness is as old as humanity itself.
The consequences of David's sin continued to cast a shadow over his reign. His actions, though forgiven by God, left a lasting impact on his kingdom and his legacy. The weight of his choices bore heavily on his shoulders, and the repercussions were felt far and wide. There was turmoil and tragedy within his own family. His sons and daughters were caught in a web of deceit, betrayal, and violence. The discord among his children was a direct result of his own moral failings, and it tore the family apart. The consequences of our actions can ripple outward, impacting the lives of those around us. Just as a single stone can create ripples that spread across a pond, our decisions can affect not only ourselves, but also those we love and care about. The story of David reminds us that our choices have far-reaching effects. Despite his failings, David is remembered as a man after God's own heart. His sincere repentance and unwavering faith set him apart. He sought forgiveness and strove to align his life with God's will, demonstrating that redemption is always within reach. He is an example of how God can use flawed individuals for His purposes. David's journey from shepherd to king illustrates that no one is beyond redemption. His life serves as a testament to the transformative power of faith and the potential for greatness within each of us. He teaches us that forgiveness is possible, even in the face of grave mistakes. David's story is a powerful reminder that no matter how far we may fall, there is always a path to reconciliation and healing. His life encourages us to seek forgiveness and to extend it to others.
I am flawed, yet the Lord still uses me. Like David, I've made mistakes, but I strive to learn and grow from them. My imperfections do not disqualify me from being used by God. Rather, they highlight His mercy and grace. My life is a testament to His mercy and grace. Each day is an opportunity to seek His guidance and to walk in His ways. Through my journey, I have come to understand that it is not our perfection that God seeks, but our willingness to follow Him despite our flaws. This is the legacy of David, and it is a legacy that we can all aspire to.